So now we're going to take a look at organelles. And one thing to kind of understand is the fact that different cells will have different organelles. So in this case, we're just going to be looking at the main organelles in an animal cell. Main organelles, by that I just mean the ones that you really just need to know the exact details of. So there's quite a lot of organelles, but yeah, these are just the main ones. To start off, we have the nucleus. So what the nucleus is that it's just the house of DNA. It stores DNA. It also looks like this. Well, you'll show on the screen. And external function is that it also controls growth of human body and whatnot. And another key thing that you will not learn this year, but it is good to know as an example, is that it is the key site of transcription. So transcription is just a part in protein synthesis. Protein synthesis just means that the nucleus plays a role in creating proteins for the body. So that's just how what we need to understand about the nucleus. So the next one up here we have ribosomes. Now ribosomes are responsible for the second stage in protein synthesis. Now we have the first stage of protein synthesis undergone in our nucleus. Second stage, called translation, occurs in the ribosomes. And the site of these ribosomes can depend. They can be free floating in the cell, or they can be attached onto a rough ER. So what is a rough ER? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about next. So we have something called the endoplasmic reticulum, and these are just a system of folded membranes. Well, the specific role of the ER kind of depends on what type it is. So we have two types of endoplasmic reticulums. We have the rough ER and the smooth ER. ER is just endoplasmic reticulum. And so the rough ER essentially is a type of ER that has ribosomes attached onto it. And this kind of gives it a rough edge. So kind of think of something like this. So that's the ER right here. And that's the ribosomes. So it's kind of something like this. You'll see a picture up on screen. So yeah, something like that. And what this is that, again, it's just responsible for protein and protein synthesis and transport. So the smooth ER, on the other hand, this one does not have any ribosomes. So it's just going to be, if that was our ER, this one is just going to be a line right there. And this is actually responsible for lipid synthesis. So it creates fats. It's also responsible for detoxifying harmful chemicals. All this really means is that it just makes harmful chemicals less harmful. So yeah, these are just the basic surface level knowledge you really need to know about these. They're nothing too in-depth. So the next one we have here is the Golgi apparatus. Well, the Golgi is responsible for shipping proteins / lipids. So once proteins and lipids are made from the smooth ER or the rough ER or whatnot, it's actually sent to the Golgi apparatus to be then packaged up. So the process is really simple. It receives the proteins and lipids from the endoplasmic reticulum, whether it be the rough ER or the smooth ER, and chemically tags them. This just helps with signaling and whatnot, and then packages them into vesicles. Vesicles are essentially membrane-bound sacs that are able to contain molecules and able to be exported and whatnot. These are packaged into vesicles and then they're sent to their destination. So oftentimes, a molecule will be made in a specific organelle, but it doesn't belong there. It has to be made. It really just is useful somewhere else. And what the Golgi does is that it just sends them to that specific place. That's really just the process of the Golgi. The mitochondria. We've all heard the very overused phrase, it's the powerhouse of the cell. It's the power plant of the cell. And through cellular respiration, which is a type of specific process that you won't learn this year, but you will learn in 3 and 4. It just creates energy to power metabolic functions, and this energy is created in the form of ATP. Again, you really don't need to know this, but it's helpful just to use this as an example. So the last thing we have here is something called lysosomes. These are kind of on the less important side of understanding organelles, but it is also really helpful to know. Lysosomes are essentially just a type of organelle that contains a really powerful enzyme that is useful for digesting stuff. And what this does is that it breaks down waste and other substances within the cell and just makes them reusable for different functions. So yeah, that's essentially all the main organelles. There are quite a lot of other ones, but again, we're going to go over that when we go over different types of cells.